Hey everybody, this is Tony, and I do stuff. Today, I bought a new tool. It's not the tool I wanted, but it's the tool that I needed for right now. One of my neighbors needs some shelves put up in their garage. Well, I manufactured these brackets, and as a result, I've got to drill about 150 holes. Even though I have a good quality hand drill, lithium powered, I just didn't want to wear it out. Now, in a previous video, I manufactured some heavy duty shelf brackets for my closet upstairs, and I did use my hand drill, but I only drilled maybe 20 or 30 holes. Now we're talking 150, so we're talking about a lot more work and a lot more wear and tear on my drill. I went online, and at my local Lowe's home improvement center, I found this Porta-Cable 3.2 amp drill press that was not really that expensive. Less than $200 for a drill press and a relatively inexpensive drill press vise. Now this is a benchtop unit, so I'm gonna unbox this thing, put it together, and give it a test drive. Alright, it seems like a pretty well made unit. I mean, for 27 bucks, what do you expect? It's got a nice little screw here. Seems like it will definitely do the trick. Got some knurls in here in the jaws. Alright, we shall see. Had to move this sucker to the floor. It was a little heavy on the workbench. It was very well packaged, but it is a lot smaller than I expected it to be. I did expect some assembly. The major drive unit is pretty much one piece. The press table, which goes up and down on this rack, on this post here, has separate crank and a locking tab, and the table also appears to pivot. So I'll figure out how all that works, but let's get to putting it together. First things first, I've got to review this manual and make sure I do everything correctly. So I'll get back to you shortly. initially, it took some force to break this loose. Now, it's still a little tight. It's workable, but I'm gonna loosen the tension spring a little bit. Wear gloves when you do this adjustment because there's some that little spring sticks out there, and that sucker will bite you and probably put a pretty nasty cut. So, wear your gloves. Much better. Much better. So installing the chuck, this is a tapered fit and it must be really, really clean. So you get any debris or any kind of crap you might have in there. Do what you can to get it out. And make sure the chuck is fully open. Now they say use a hammer and a piece of wood. I have a dead blow hammer here. So I'm gonna push this sucker up here. I'm gonna give it some taps. Alright, that should make it seat. Here, this thing has a laser, some kind of laser sight. Put those batteries in. You have to squeeze this, pull it down, and the batteries go in there. Rocket science. Even I can do this. So it's not a laser, it's just a light. LED. Wow. High tech. What do you expect for 179 bucks? Here's a tip. Don't work in the dark. So you won't lose your chuck wrench. Nifty. It has a safety mechanism built into the switch so that you pull that out and put it in your pocket and you can't accidentally turn this thing on. Okay, let's fire it up and see it run. My quick takes on it, it was pretty easy to put together. Straightforward, not real complicated. I can do it, anybody can. Things I don't like that I see right off the bat, I don't like the way this power cord comes right down next to the work. But this is not a very large unit, as you can see. It's really small. So I'm just going to loop this around here. Plug the girl in. See what happens. Sounds smooth. Okay. Let's take a look at some other stuff here. I put the lady on the scale and she only weighs right at 43.5 pounds. It's supposed to be mounted because the base here is really thin relative to the size of the unit. Changing the speeds is pretty simple. There's a chart there for speeds, and the user's manual also gives a lot more detailed instructions on what speeds you should use for size of drill bits and material. First thing you do when you're changing speeds is loosen this little clamp, and this is the motor tension. If you look right here, there's a little spring right in there. Now this bend, I imagine that either happened during assembly or maybe the motor got bumped or something, who knows. But it's not affecting operation. It is a simple matter of deciding which of the pulleys you want to use, and you can just rotate, make sure your power is off. You can pull the belt up over the top of the sheave here, and you can rotate one of the other ones and see it'll just fall right on up. And then you pick this up, move on up to the next one. Let's move you over here. moves you up to the next one. And then you tighten your belt by pulling your motor back and snug down on this, on the stop. And they say that if you can deflect the belt about a half an inch, then that's good. I have got to drill 2 holes in the short end of each one of these brackets to accommodate this 1/4 inch lag bolt. So I've got a supply of drill bits that I'm going to use. I made a small template that I can place here and try to get all the holes in the same place. And I am going to use the $24 shop vise. So let's set this thing up and see if we can get it going. My plan was to clamp this in the shop vise or in the drill press vise, but if you notice, when I'm ready to drill this hole, this hole will be fine because it's well within where the quill can come down to, but this one needs to be way back here, so I'm probably going to have to swivel the head and get it where I can get into the throat. The configuration I had to come up with has this thing really on the edge of my workbench. So for safety's sake, I'm going to put a couple of these lag bolts into my workbench to clamp this thing down so that it doesn't fall and hurt me. Let's see how she drills. Okay, 150 holes later, to secure the shelf boards to the rail, I've got to drill some little pilot holes. I'm going to be using these tech screws. I've used these before and they had trouble biting through this particular aluminum. This stuff is pretty tough. Drill press made it look easy, but it's tough stuff. So I'm going to drill pilot holes. Setup was pretty simple. Took the drill press clamp, secured it with a couple of Irwin quick clamps, and what I will do is I will line it up here. I've already centered it. I had to change the speed for the smaller drill bit drill down through here. Loosen, go all the way to the stop, and drill through here. Easy day. Do that 150 more times. All right, that was the last one. 150 5/16, 150 1/4-inch holes in aluminum. I think it performed pretty well. I'm going to clean it up and then I'll give you my final thoughts. It comes in a really small box. It's 24 by 11.5 by 14. So if you're walking through the hardware store and you're looking for something huge, it's not. Fully assembled, it's only about 29 inches tall. It has a tilt feature on the table, but I didn't use it for this project, so can't comment on that. The crank that raises and lowers the work table works pretty good. What I didn't like and what I'm skeptical about is this little handle here. It looks kind of cheesy. It did not malfunction. It worked through the whole project, but I can see this being an issue later. It looks like they just used a rivet in there to secure it. I'm probably going to have to do something with that. I put these little Allen wrenches in the top up here where the pulleys are, because since I had to use them to swing the head around to get access to the work that I was doing, I put them in there so I wouldn't lose them. Changing speeds on this thing was not hard. It's like any system of this nature. You're going to catch your fingers, so just be careful. But it was relatively easy, and this little chart came in handy for the size of the drill bit and what speed you should be turning and what material you're turning it through. This little bit hole or chuck wrench holder worked, and the light also worked, and I had it on for about 4 hours and it's still good and bright. So this LED work light, it serves its purpose. After I used it for this project, these handles started working loose, so I took them out apart and put some blue Loctite in there and tightened them down. So that shouldn't be an issue anymore, but just be aware. Overall, hey, the thing works for what you're paying for. It's less than 200 bucks, 179 I believe I paid, and the thing worked great. Drilled a lot of holes. Have no idea what the accuracy is, but it's way better than I could have done with a hand drill. So I am thoroughly satisfied with it. The pony clamp did its thing as well. Now, the work table on this drill is really small. The pony clamp is actually larger than the work table. However, it served the purpose. You can work around it. So you just got to be creative. Now, what I did notice was the bottom of the pony clamp, which is the body of this thing is cast, is not machined, so it is not perfectly flat. As I was bearing down with the drill quill, I did notice that either the table is not flat or the pony clamp is not flat. I would say most likely it's the pony clamp, because that table has marks on it. They machined that. So you may have to take that and put it on a piece of sandpaper and maybe grind it and get it flat. But for what it is, a $24 clamp or a $26 clamp, hey, dude, it did its job. These holes in the base came in handy, when I had to secure it to my workbench. So, and I'm sure that they would also come in handy for vices or clamps. But with a small drill press like this, I really don't know what you might need that for. During operation, I started to hear the quill begin to make noise, but I didn't see the drill bits dancing around, so I guess it's just breaking in. This is not the top of the line. This is not even the middle of the road, but it's not the bottom either. This is a good drill press. For what I used it for, it's more than adequate, and I'll probably use it for a lot of other projects going forward. It's not what I wanted, but it's what I needed right now. I'm completely satisfied with it. I hate the fact that it says Porter Cable and it's made in China, but it's still a good quality press. Probably equal to anything else you could get anywhere else for this price. So, this is Tony, and I do stuff. I have a drill press. See ya.